Order the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Woodbridge. Commissioner Tippett.
Here.
Commissioner Wiseman.
Present.
Commissioner Sauer.
Right here.
Mayor May.
Here, we do have a quorum present. First item on the agenda. Well, we can't. Do we have any citizens that sent in any questions?
Nothing according to Blair's email a few minutes ago.
All right.
We did not receive any citizens' comments, Mayor.
Okay. Sounds good. So then we've under discussion items. The first item is net profit and regulatory deadline extension.
And I'll cover that.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
All right, this item is just trying to match the federal extension for filing your taxes, which obviously used to be April 15th, is now July 15th. And we were going to match that by changing our net profit and regulatory deadlines to July 15th. And this is more of an update. The mayor's actually already signed the executive order, but this is something that every city across the state is doing, across the country. They're matching that federal deadline.
Who's taking?
I don't know how you get to that love station over there.
Well, just.
Okay. Next, do we have any questions on that?
Mayor, you already signed this one into effect Friday, is that right?
Yes.
Is it Friday?
Yes, it was Friday.
So Keith, can you just explain a little bit more for the community that may be watching at least that what taxes this will impact, and all of those are going to be due April or July 15th now instead of what February 29th was the deadline for one of them. Okay,
let me go back to the city manager, or
I'll take it.
Okay.
All right. Your net profit, typically the city of Frankfort mirrored the federal government on net profit returns April 15th. And typically somebody filing a federal return, they'll need that federal return to do their net profit. So they're kind of filed together. So we decided that if you're filing a net profit local business return for Frankfort, we can extend you to July 15th, the same time your federal return is due. There's also a much smaller category of regulatory returns or regulatory fees and license fees. So if you have a regulatory license fee that's due this spring, there's a few of them that are due, I think, on May 31st, but we're extending all of those as well.
Till July 31st.
Till July 31st, yeah.
It also, just to add a little bit more, just to let folks know, the penalties and interests on these particular fee deadlines are not going to start until the day after each of the deadlines as well.
Laura, you look like you're in the executive producer spot. You're like, okay, camera 2, cue up, and on 3, go to.
That's exactly right.
Manager. Sorry. Okay. I'm trying to watch all the commissioners. That's why I'm looking away so I can see everybody on the screen and see if anybody wants to be recognized. I guess if you all can just raise your hand and then I can see if there's, okay. So if there's no other question, go ahead. Who's that? Commissioner Tippett?
I want to say, am I supposed to be able to see Commissioner Sauer on my screen?
You should be able to. You can't see him?
Everybody else.
Okay.
It's okay.
I can see him on the big, on on my big monitor here.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we all know this is an imperfect way to do this. And
Oh, yes. But
I'm sure it's my connectivity, right? My internet connectivity's probably got a lot to do with that.
Well, I think it's probably
Anyway,
the number of boxes that are open on there. If you might be able to, are you on a laptop or an iPad, or what are you on?
On an iPad. I'm good, Mayor.
You sure? Okay.
Let's proceed. Yeah.
Just want to double check. Laura, Ms. Ross, does each commissioner need to see every member before we?
No, I think we've confirmed that we just need to have a quorum going all of the time in one way or another, and the public needs to be able to see and hear a quorum.
Okay. And Commissioner Tippett, also when I'm looking on my iPhone, I don't see everybody either, but on my monitor, I can see everybody on there.
Okay, great.
Mayor, if we're in order, I would move that we approve your executive order.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, thanks. All those in favor is
That's fine.
aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Number 2, update on revenue projections for fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't read the whole thing. It's 5 pages, but I would like to highlight a few things. The city of Frankfort is a little bit unique that we get 59% of our revenue from income and wage taxes. What you'll find typically, 1 in 10 cities receive their revenue in this fashion. So most cities receive the majority of their revenue based on property or insurance premium tax. And just because we're special in that way has some benefits, but during this crisis, we will see almost immediate impacts to our revenue stream because we're dependent on income, really the occupational revenue. We do have property tax and insurance premium tax, but they're a small part of our revenue stream compared to the income and wage tax. Property, as you can imagine, a property tax and insurance premium tax are somewhat resilient to the immediate impacts of this crisis. If property values go down or if people can't pay their taxes, you'll see that over time, but it's not immediate like an occupational our 1.95% wage tax. Also in this, you'll see a graph that kind of breaks out the percentages of revenue. I'd like to break out our state government withholding. They are our largest employer, the largest withholding. We've gotten 3 of our checks from state government. And the way we bill is we bill quarterly, and they have 30 days. So the January, February, March quarter is due by the end of April, the end of this month. That'll be the last payment we get on state government withholding. And I expect we will hit our target of 7.6 million. This budget year, we'll see all the revenue from the state government. I did just recently file an open records request with the state, and I asked them on March 1st how many employees were paying the local wage tax, and on April 8th how many were paying. There was 9,456 on March 1st, 7,814 on April 8th. That's a 17% reduction. We will see that in our first quarter payment in July 31st in the next budget year, and that will go up because not all the state agencies are done refiguring. What they did is they sent out paperwork to all employees. If you're working from home, you give them your new place of work. So if an employee is working from Lawrenceburg, they would submit a form and they would stop paying the city's local income tax. So we can expect our return, first quarter especially, to be much lower for state government. And our other governmental.
Keith, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Who did? Commissioner.
Do these state employees have the option of maintaining their relationship with us? Because as I understand it, they can't avoid paying occupational tax. And if the occupational tax of their home community is higher, wouldn't they have the option to keep paying with us?
KRS 82.090 gives us the authority to charge occupational tax, but it is clearly defined as where your place of work is. I think the state, I think they feel the need to let everybody update because they're required by law to correct the property tax. So, yeah, you know, Anderson County and Lawrenceburg I don't believe they have an occupational tax. So if you're from there, you wouldn't be charged a local tax. But if you were from Lexington working in Frankfort, Lexington could get mad because if their workplace just changed to their home in Lexington, they need to be remitted the proper local tax. So I think state law requires wherever the workplace is where the tax goes.
Commissioner Tippett, do you have any further on that? Because I have some information I found out too.
No, I mean, that was just musing aloud there, Mayor.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to actually follow this up, but the mayor in Covington is a longtime friend. He just sent me an email that the governor in Ohio has issued an executive order that would say that any of the state workers or any workers that are not working where they would, like, for example, in Frankfort, if our governor did that, then they would just continue to pay occupational taxes to Frankfort and not have to, if it was COVID-19 related. I've not confirmed or seen what Ohio did. I was trying to get that information beforehand and I just haven't. I literally, found out within minutes before we went live here. So that may be something we could look at.
Yeah,
I think that's something I mentioned to Keith last week, that I had mentioned to him to see maybe our governor would be doing something like that, being that it is COVID related.
Okay. So that might be worth pursuing. I don't know. I wanted to try to see if I could find the Ohio governor's executive order. I'm going to kind of look at that while we're talking, see if I can search and find it.
Well, while we're on here, does everybody agree if we can find an example of that happening, that the mayor could pen a letter to the governor and ask for that?
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think we're sort of at a loss. No matter what we do, right? We're going to have quite a shortfall. I think at minimum, if we could minimize the state's impact, that would help us some. But we're going to have quite a bit of unknown from all the local businesses aside of state government, right? Keith, did you try to come up with a projected shortfall, if you will?
I have not, and I think what a lot of communities are doing are trying to extend their revenue projection and their final budget. They're trying to hold flat and do budget amendments early in the next quarter because it's going to be so hard to estimate. Like my next paragraph is, state government may be easier to estimate, a few weeks from now when they tell us how many people switched. But in our other business withholding, we're talking about, the top 20, there were 7 in government, 3 school related, 2 banks, Frankfort Plant Board, hospital, Kroger, Walmart, and 4 other private businesses. Some of those are going to see increased occupational wages possibly. The majority will probably see some decrease. Many of them will not furlough their employees, will keep paying them or paying leave. So it is so hard to estimate what we may see. And towards the end, I'll show some of the recommendations, but we may consider a unique way to budget this year and kind of holding flat on a few things and do some revenue projections, but maybe everybody consider that we'll have to do a budget amendment in the first quarter once we know true numbers.
That was my next thought, was that if we're extending all tax deadlines through end of July, it comes in after our budgeting session. So we're looking only at projections from the previous year without the impact of the virus and impact on tax returns, right? We won't have that information to even consider until after we've already completed our budgeting session.
Yeah, we can do our best guess. And the next paragraph in this report goes over net profit, which you're correct. We just extended through July 15th. I did walk into finance today. I updated last week that we've already got 950,000 of our projected 2.1 from net profit. And there's a whole stack of stuff where more returns are coming in. So if you give us through the end of April, we'll be able to tell you what we've gotten in net profit this year and what we expect to get next the first quarter of the new budget year. But you're right. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, and we can. I'm utilizing other cities. The budget, one of the budget people in Lexington, and just doing all we can to figure this out. But we may not have good projections for a while. I would like to summarize. If that's all the questions you have, do y'all want me to continue?
Do you have any other questions, anyone?
Mayor,
Commissioner, go ahead.
Mayor, this is probably a good time to remind our listeners to, support their local restaurants and other stores that are still open. The Chamber of Commerce, as you well know, has a complete list of all the restaurants and businesses that are open. We need to support them now more than ever. Secondly, Kentucky Capital Development Corporation has a list of 12 different corporations that are hiring right now. A lot of our people have been fired. They're unemployed. There are 12 companies that they list at the Kentucky Capital Development Corporation website that are hiring right now. They give the phone number, the contact person, and so forth. I just think we as a city need to get that information out the best we can.
Yes, thank you. Good points.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions from anybody on that? All right, next item would be, you already moved. Go ahead.
I've got to finish this
Yes.
report. I got about half through it.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'll go quick.
Okay.
I wanted to summarize what I think will happen in this budget year. We will see an amount that we'll be able to estimate on net profit returns. Once we see how many tried to meet the April 15th deadline, we can assume the rest of them will wait till July 15th. And we historically have had a lot of people ask for extensions anyway. So sometime in May, I think we do a budget amendment to show that we're not going to meet all our revenue. Maybe that's $1 million we won't see in net profit returns. And just to formalize, because I think by law, we're supposed to update that budget. If we have that big of an impact and we're going to hit our reserve that much, we need to put that in front of you all. But we can follow up later on that. And just an overall summary, I've got a couple of graphs in there. In our long-term planning in January, we mentioned, you saw those graphs that were going down. We also mentioned there's a workers' comp and a health fund that, if you add them together, they total about $5 million that I believe should be unrestricted funds. They were kind of put aside by previous administrations to cover any unknown health, since we're self-insured on health and workers' comp. But in checking with staff, we have these umbrella insurance policies that cover, if we go over a certain amount with a certain person on health and workers' comp, we're covered. So we don't need $5 million in the bank to cover that. So I think we add that to our general fund, which helps us out in this time. But I'd be glad to talk to any of you all offline if you have questions about that. If we don't do that, even if we do that, we're going to have to start talking about revenue. But again, I don't think tonight's the time to talk about it. But sometime we're going to have to talk about making up revenue over the next few years because we're on a steep decline and could run out of money sooner than anybody might think. As far as recommendations, maybe we'll add a new recommendation, as the mayor mentioned, about holding the local occupational tax where it is currently. But I think we need to write a letter to the governor, have the mayor write a letter that pretty much states all the federal money that may come to the states in the form of a block grant that they can distribute to the municipalities or local governments that have seen some revenue loss. We'd rather see they distribute that money not just based on population, because the fact that we're special and we get most of our income from wage and income taxes, we're hurt more than the people that get it from property and insurance premiums. So we need to push that money's distributed based on actual revenue projections or loss of revenue, and not based on population, or we won't have a good outcome there. So that's another thing I'd like to see in a letter, and I can work with the mayor if y'all are in agreement in drafting something to that effect.
Sure. I'm for that.
Also, anytime you have a revenue crisis like this, you need to talk about how you might be able to decrease costs. I've got a list of 9 or 10 things there. You all have got it. Those are things we'll talk about when we get into budgeting for next year. I won't go over them tonight, but we've got some hard decisions to make. There'll be some relief coming from the federal government, and when we get out of this, everything will start to recover. But we'll have to talk about some budget cuts or some changes for this coming budget year. But that's my report on revenue.
Okay, did anyone have any other questions for the city manager on that? Okay, if not, I apologize. I'm looking up at my screen to see the agenda and things too. Number 3, local COVID-19 relief fund. I think okay, city manager.
Okay, you all included in your packet was a sample press release if we go this route. But essentially, the Bluegrass Community Foundation is offered to assist with, gathering COVID-19 relief funds. Honestly, I think they're going to do this whether we are a partner or not. And I think staff would recommend that we join with them instead of having, 2 or 3 different agencies asking for local relief funds and people not knowing who to give to. The reason we're talking to Bluegrass Community Foundation is they come into the game with experience. They're a 501c3. They're set up to have a web page dedicated for credit cards, checks can be sent to them, and any other assets. They have tax donation receipts they can give out. The Franklin County Community Fund, who manages Bluegrass Community Foundation, would set up an advisory grant committee with members of the local government and the existing community fund board to administer the relief funds into our community. We specifically asked that we would have a say in that. I've spoken to Tommy Russell, who's spoken to the group, that we want to have a say, because I believe Tommy and his food coordinator, John Law, and a few other people have a real good feeling of, where that money's needed. And we would have some control over that, as well as this board that's set up. This is an opportunity for us to establish a relief fund pretty simply with the administrative backing from the Bluegrass Community Foundation. And like I said, we can be involved in the dispersing of funds. What do y'all have any opinions on that?
So go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes.
I have no idea who wanted to go first. Commissioner Walters, go ahead.
I agree on the fund, and being that basically if we approve this, then we can go ahead and move forward with this as of within the next couple of days, which is what I like about it. But I would like to recommend that I sit on that committee, and I believe that Scott Tippett wanted to sit on that committee to help represent the city commission if we can recommend that moving forward. So 2 commissioners could be on that committee. Who am I speaking with, Keith? Yes. So yeah, I would like to definitely be on that committee. I think Scott Tippett would also like to be on that committee as well, as 2 representatives from the city, if possible.
So Keith,
Commissioner Tippett, and then
this is essentially we are essentially they're not asking us to contribute any kind of funding to this, are they? We're essentially a cheerleading and a publicity outlet for this fund. Is this correct?
Yeah, what I would say is there's two different needs in our community right now. There are your nonprofits, your shelters, your food banks, everybody that those are all tax deductible contributions. And then I see your local small businesses and other businesses as a need as well. If the city wants to project income into this, I would say let's see if community donations can help us keep up with the food banks and shelters. Right now they are. And then if the city down the road, here in a month or two, or maybe next month, we're going to have to, if we want to put forth money, let's put forth some money to the small businesses if we can prop them up some, if we see that our food banks and shelters are being satisfied by the tax deductible donations. That was the way we would.
So my question is, Keith, I don't have any problem with us supporting and cheerleading, and I think it's a worthy initiative. Mm-hmm. But my concern is, if we're going to contribute money, wouldn't it be more appropriate for us to contribute to an organization like ROSM, where we can specifically target folks who are probably going to fall through the cracks of any kind of federal assistance? I'm thinking specifically of low wage earners and folks who work on tips, and the trickle down probably won't trickle that far down. So if we're going to contribute funding, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to this initiative, but if we're going to contribute funding, I think we need to have a better idea of who the recipients are. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would like to target that. And if maybe the mayor could, work with Tommy, our director of emergency management, and the mayor has some input as to who is on this specific board. And then at a later date, when we have a clearer idea of where the need is, then we can wait and pull the trigger on funding further down the road. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. What we're setting up or talk to you all about setting up today has no commitment of funding from the city. I would expect a future, if the city wants to contribute, that would be a separate thing. This is something we need to get going now, because we think there's people sitting around in the community that want to help and they want to donate. And we're going to, this source would help us manage those donations. I agree with you. If the city wants to contribute, that's a different ballgame. And I think, we always need strings attached to our money on how it's going to be spent. And but right now, we're not committing to any funds to anything. We're just trying to pick somebody to help us manage a donation platform so we can start gathering those funds from people who want to help.
Mayor, if I may. I made a recommendation after the last work session a month ago that we use this organization. The Bluegrass Community Foundation has been around since the 50s and manages over $1 billion, I believe, at this point in funding. They are really one of the only entities that is functional that can handle the onslaught. I was just looking at the website of donations, handle the tax processing, letters, making sure that donations come through. And Harrison County, Madison County, Rowan County, Woodford County are all listed on their front page for COVID relief funds at the moment. I think this is more of a community initiative that we need to support, and I agree with Commissioner Tippett that we need to wait a little bit to look where our funds need to go. I think we can easily set a fund aside at the city that we distribute to support the immediate initiatives that are needed for food security or otherwise. But I think that's still a little ways to come. This is for those people that want to donate to help. And actually, I think probably we need to leave this up to the community group that is going to have some oversight with emergency management and the mayor to oversee the funds instead of a large committee. I had a talk with our emergency management director when the community foundation approached me again about this, and I think that the more people we have on an oversight board, the more opportunity for argument, and these funds need to be distributed quickly as they come in to the areas of need. And I would rather minimize the impact and the personalities and whatever else that are going to oversee those funds, and just give a portal, a streamlined system for our community members to donate to help wherever the need arises. And this one is really politically free, free of religion or any other personal initiatives. As a community foundation, this is what it was set up for. And the Franklin County Community Fund, I understand is looking to contribute a little bit already that they have set aside. So I would move that we would come up with some solutions that we need for other needs in the community as our budget projections change a little bit more and we see the need that arises. I think we can be nimble and act quickly in addressing any budget shortfalls or funding avenues that may come up as a commission.
Mayor, I have a question.
Did anybody else have any problems there?
Mayor,
Go ahead.
Mayor, would you have any interest in being our representative?
Can I ask Tommy Russell to weigh in on that? Because I guess he's been working with staff and others. I can see, Tommy, you got your green, so you can talk.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me all right?
Tom? Yeah, you're on.
Okay, all
Did
right.
you hear Commissioner Sauer's question?
I did. My two schools of thought. One is Commissioner Wisman is dead on that the more people that are involved in a committee, and I've seen this many times, the more personalities there are, things start to stray a little bit. My suggestion, and Ms. Ross and we had a conversation about whether we created an MOU or MOA or some document with this entity. My suggestion would be that maybe the mayor sets the members of this thing. I ask for a very heavy hand in the distribution of any funds that go out in the concern. All of these monies that we take in would go to essential needs first, which would be, life-saving measures, shelters, food, whatever it comes down to, the need at the time. But I think we need to tie this thing down specific to those things. I don't think we need to stray into the, I'm going to save a traffic cone situation. I think there is a need for those other things, but perhaps there are two separate entities that make those recommendations. My recommendations right now would be essential to life safety and the needs of the general populace as far as food, water, and shelter go.
So Tommy, question?
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Tommy, Mayor. So what you're saying to us is you would like to review the MOU before we agree to sign it?
Yes, sir. 100%.
All righty. That's not, I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
I don't know. We will definitely work with them, and I think they would be willing to consider anything that we wanted to set up the advisory committee. Can't hear me?
I'm fine. I can hear you.
I can hear you.
I got you, Laura. I got you.
Sorry, Mayor. Okay. So I think that generally the
I'm
way
having
it's
audio troubles. Anybody else having?
Yeah, you're delayed, Mayor.
you are delayed.
Okay.
There's a little delay.
It's going to be fun for a while.
Well, I'll continue just to say
Laura,
that. Oh, hey, Mayor.
Laura,
Yes.
hey, Bobby.
Have we lost the mayor's audio? Okay.
Should he back out and log back in?
There is a long delay because I'm not talking right now.
I think we're going to have to be patient with these kinds of meetings, guys.
In making the right decisions to protect our folks. All right, we've been going about 30 minutes. We'll turn over. We will go through questions. Tomorrow, we'll do the deeper dive on it. Wednesday, we'll talk about the team Kentucky update on what race. So today we've got 3 of our reporters that are here. Bill Pendleton, WKYT, Mike Valenti, for Lex 18, and Joe Courier
Hey,
Journal.
Bobby.
There you are, Mayor.
Bobby. Yeah, I went dark. I could get. I think something happened to it was my internet connection because I couldn't even get back on to the meeting invitation.
Yeah,
I think something.
Yeah.
Because I was
It's,
getting delay from people earlier.
Yeah.
So, okay, hopefully. I'm back. I wasn't even talking. Y'all were answering my question. I said that I asked that like a minute ago. I think so. Hopefully I don't lose connection again. So I have no idea. Laura, I could hear you talking,
Okay.
but it was in and out.
Okay, Mayor. I'll just say, generally, what I think most communities are doing is the mayor and the county judge are actually serving on the advisory committee and have a large role in making the decisions and helping funnel those funds into the community, the areas of the community, and the particular populations and groups that have the most immediate needs. I think that's the way other communities are doing it, not to say that we have to do it as such, but the committee itself, the advisory committee would formulate all of those objective, the criteria and what needs to be done to make sure the money gets into the hands of those that we see the biggest need for. An MOU with them. I don't know that other communities have an MOU between the city and the community fund. I can definitely check into that. I do know that if we were to give money, I would absolutely require a funding agreement to be in place so that we'd have complete control over any city funds that went into that account.
Mayor, if I may, I think Laura exemplifies something there
Sure.
that we need a very small committee that probably should be the mayor, the judge, and emergency management to nimbly be able to distribute those funds as the need arises quickly. There's going to be a immediacy and need here that are just those community funds that are donated from private citizens and corporations and things like that, and that we need to consider something else for our funding mechanisms that can be, as I suggested, I think at the last work session, if we put aside a certain pot of money that we approve a budget amendment, that then that can be used by emergency management and the mayor, the manager, to determine where the need is to distribute to things like maybe ROSM or other existing avenues to distribute those funds best.
Okay. And then I'm going to call on the city manager. When I first was thinking about this at the beginning, I don't know if it was end of February or 1st of March, I was thinking trying to do something that would help, like especially like the small business owners and their employees. And then when the congressional funds were going through, I think we all agreed that let's wait and see how that was going to go. But to making sure that we don't lose our small businesses and their employees.
Agree.
But if this is a fund that can be full, I mean, I've been sitting here looking when you were speaking what the other communities did, and I feel better now than I initially was, because I didn't have enough information. I didn't have that much information. And city manager, you said you've got your hands up. You wanted to talk.
Yeah, what I'd like to do, y'all have all raised good points. Would you all be agreeable to saying tonight that you would trust the mayor, Tommy Russell, and the judge, and myself and Laura to review and let the mayor sign any documents, or let's get this started? If we don't, if we push this down to a special call to figure it out, then we lose another 3 or 4 or 5 days of donations. If you all feel comfortable that we have heard your concerns and feel comfortable with the mayor, and relay those to us so we can develop this program and get it launched. Can we do that tonight?
Commissioners.
So Keith, help me. What is it that these good people are specifically wanting us to sign off on? We're just cheerleading?
Yeah, there's
providing publicity.
Sign up. The way I see it is we're about 2 weeks late. There's people wanting to give money, and if they want to give it, let's keep it in our community. And we just need somebody to help us. We're not set up to take donations. We're not a 501c3. We need somebody, some place where people can donate, get a tax advantage for it, and then we can distribute the money working with the mayor and the judge and Tommy. So this is really, we're not committing our funds to anything. This is purely, let's get it going. And these are going to be people that help us do it, because we're not experienced at it.
And at that timing, there was just a determination from the Federal Reserve, right? I think within the last few days about change.
Sorry, Commissioner Westman, go ahead. I couldn't hear. I was talking. Commissioner.
Maximize your, I think, 100% of taxable donations this year. That change. It's going to be an incentive that we need to establish this now. Last month.
I think I know what you just said.
Over just immediately. I think the mayor, the judge, and emergency management are the ones that are most knowledgeable about the day-to-day need and what's happening, and easily distribute those funds and make the determinations as we can find what that happens. Let's just get the fund created. We can see what happens as we develop it, and I know there's a number of the people in the community that want to help, and there's a need already, and this is the best avenue I think we have to create that and meet that need right now.
I'd agree 100%. You're right. I read the other day where when you itemize your deductions next year, you're going to have a better avenue for the tax relief on that. And I think people are dying to give. And if we don't give them an option here, they'll give somewhere else. Let's keep it in Frankfort.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on that?
An MOA, we don't need to approve anything, do we?
Mayor,
Commissioner Sauer, was that? Yes, go ahead.
let's just get this thing done and do it. Let's take the city manager's recommendation and go ahead and do it. I'm worried as he is that a lot of people's money are going to go to other places than the city of Frankfort if we don't move right away.
Got you. I think there are 3 here, Mayor, for that.
All right, that sounds good. So, some of y'all were cutting in and out. I trust that city clerk was getting that clearly.
I'm good.
I think I just must have a bad connection for some reason. And right now, did you all hear what I just said, or was there a delay?
Yeah. Your audio is coming through okay. Your photo's a bit fragmented, but we're getting it.
I'm going to get my internet checked. All right. So let's see. Where are we? Let me pull this back up. All right, are we ready to move on to number 4, the CAD software agreement?
Yeah, Mayor,
Okay, city manager.
I'd like Chief Adams to give a quick summary if I think he's on the line.
Yeah.
I can see, there he's green. Go ahead, Chief.
So, all right. So the Caliber CAD software is obviously, it's a computer program that dispatch uses to track police runs, fire runs, EMS runs, and to collect the data for that, keeps track of times, all that. We've had an agreement with GeoConnex for about 5 years now, and it has not turned out to be the software we had hoped. And so since that agreement is coming to an end, we started looking for somebody else, and Caliber is on state contract. They are used by the state police, Lawrenceburg, and Mercer County, some other agencies in our area. It's been a real good program. They're very satisfied with it. So that is where we are at so far.
Question?
Yes, sir.
Chief,
Commissioner Wisman.
You mentioned before in the meeting, this is the same software that the state police are using and implementing, correct? So we're going to have, for the first time, an ability to interact through the software program about cities, county, and state police calls to locations, which will give us more information and streamline processes that has been a cumbersome ordeal for some time, right?
Yes, sir. So we'll be able to, if we answer a call or we take the information, instead of making a phone call, we'll be able to send them that information, say it happens in the county or maybe even another county, because we do sometimes wires get crossed and we get 911 calls from other places. And the same thing goes for Lawrenceburg or if we need to send information, that we share all the same problems. Of course, all the main highways run through here, so it'll definitely help with information exchange.
Thank you. Do we need to formally put this on our next meeting to vote on, or can we approve it tonight?
If I may, Mayor, it is on the agenda tonight so that you all can go ahead and approve and authorize the mayor to sign if at all possible tonight so we can get going.
Move that we
So
approve
moved.
here.
Second.
Okay, was that Commissioner Sauer made a motion and Commissioner Wisman seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is any other discussion? Okay, See none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge,
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett,
It's froze.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes. I'd sign language if I could.
Mayor May.
Yes.
Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
That's it.
You were delayed too. My internet connection is really jerky too right now.
Oh, well.
No, I'm not going to say. Who do you have internet service with?
Me? You
I
asked
was
me,
just kidding.
Mayor?
We all have.
Oh.
I was just kidding. I have PB, which is usually
Yeah,
really
of
good.
course.
All
Given
right,
the
so
issues
that
we're having, maybe we should ask Mr.
is a-
Rich to provide everyone with a hotspot and we start using those.
I mean, I'm direct. I'm right here.
Working fine.
Right. I'm actually connected. All right. Next item would be review of the executive order, and this is the executive order regarding meetings.
Yes, open meetings and open records. And basically it's the same basic format as we did for the tax order. The executive order has already been signed by the mayor, but we wanted to allow for discussion so that not only the Board of Commissioners, but also the public, if they have any questions, they could have the information in front of them. We've talked about this. It's changed a little bit here and there over the weeks as we've gotten Senate Bill 150 and some other guidance that has told us the best way to implement our meetings going forward. Basically, it just says that for the City Board of Commissioners, we are planning to continue with video teleconferences. It explains how those will be broadcast, where you can hear them. Explains that there is no physical public attendance, of course, at these meetings, but we are still taking public comments, and we have information about that that goes out in our notices. If we are to lose the ability for live video teleconferences, the law does authorize us to use audio teleconferences instead, so we can still do it that way. Meeting notices and agendas are going to be sent the same way they would for special called meetings. And then everything else regarding our meetings stays the same. We also have procedures in here for the various boards and commissions that may not know how to proceed. We provided some guidance asking them to either cancel or delay their meetings if at all possible during the pendency of the emergency. And if they do have essential business that needs to be conducted, they are authorized by law to use the video or audio teleconference, and we've asked for them to update the city and let us know what's going on so that we can appropriately inform the public and assist them as needed. Everything else for them remains the same. And then open records requests, finally, per state law, the deadline for responding to requests for public records is extended to 10 calendar days. Per law, we have delayed on-site inspection. City Hall is closed to the public after the emergency. We can pick that back up. We are asking that record requests and responses be conducted via email in almost every circumstance. Pretty much, Shermay, right? We can do that. We can email anything. And requests received by other means may indeed be delayed. So basically, that's the extent of it. It's pretty simple. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. That's it.
Cool.
Anybody have any questions for City Attorney? Okay. Now I gotta get back. All right. Next item would be first reading on an ordinance. I'll ask the city solicitor to read it by title and summary only, please.
Mayor. Am I being mayor?
Did I got it? Yes.
Can you
Yes.
guys hear me?
I can hear you.
I have a question.
I can hear
sir.
you. I can hear you, Scott.
I think I lost you again.
Can you hear me?
Don't egg them on.
Oh, can
I
you
can
guys
hear
hear
you.
me now? Have you got me, Eric?
Yes.
Okay, I have a
sure.
question, Mayor, about this first reading. It seems to me that, you know, I think this is a great program and we've done this for a while.
Go ahead.
Is it not possible for us to extend that more than 1 year?
If I may, Commissioner?
And can we
Mayor?
amend this first reading to say,
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Laura.
I can't.
Okay, I apologize. The reason that it's only for a year, Commissioner, is because we intend and in fact are going to do a better overhaul of the Humane Society animal control ordinances based on a grant that the Humane Society has, and it requires certain changes to be made. And we've met with them. Those changes will be made in the next couple of months. This is quite literally just a Band-Aid to move the program forward for a very brief time, hopefully no more than 2 or 3 months. Honestly, I just put a year because it was easy, until we
Okay.
get the final version.
Sounds good, Laura. Thank you.
Sure.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a horrible delay.
Yeah, you do.
All right, next item. Is there any
Oh,
questions on the tentative agenda?
Oh, wait. I need to
Did we
do
get a
the,
reading?
no, I need, sorry, Mayor, I need to do the reading.
Let's say, because I couldn't tell if you did or you didn't. I couldn't
Not
hear.
yet. It's hard.
You go ahead and
I'm
read
going to
it.
go forward. Okay. An ordinance
go ahead.
amending section 90.23B of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances relating to the Humane Society Trap, Neuter, and Release pilot program. This ordinance amends section 90.23B of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to extend the pilot program whereby the Humane Society traps, neuters, and releases feral cats within the city for an additional year from May 1st, 2020.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
Wow, that is a long delay. Okay. We just go, is there any questions on the tentative agenda?
No questions, but I'll have a couple of things to work out with staff before. There's a concern about 2 things I had last meeting.
Could y'all hear? Hey, Tom?
Is Patricia doing her laundry again?
Tom?
Hello, this is Tom.
I'm gonna need you guys to figure out how to have a meeting online so we can get in and out.
It's our elders, Patricia, having the problems.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
No, there's a horrible delay. I'm going to call.
So we just need to,
Yeah, there's a long delay. It's about a 10-second delay.
Could you call
We're
in
gonna-
on your phone to
it's
listen?
just a matter of
Come back on.
connectivity, right, Mayor?
Yeah, it was working fine. I've done like multiple. I've already had numerous calls on this line today, so it's got to be an internet. I'm going to disconnect and come back on.
Bobby, can you send him the telephone number to call in where we can see his face and then he can hear the meeting through his cell phone?
John, can you show us the scenery while we wait?
I'm telling the governor you're traveling. I am telling. You can't be doing that.
Bring him up here. Can you get him? He's just nutty. I think everybody cares.
All right. All right, can you all hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Still a long delay. Hey, hey, Bobby. Do you have any suggestions on what I can do? I'm not doing anything. It's I guess there's a delay.
Yeah, that's what I think and then he can listen in real time.
We only have one item left anyway, right?
We got the closed session.
That. Mayor.
Yes.
Okay, I think you're almost caught up. You're fine.
Are we ready to go into executive session?
It's just a delay. I'm going to disconnect off the other one.
There's something I'd like to bring up.
If it's
Okay,
not
go
on
ahead.
if it's not on the agenda.
It said discussion, right?
Commissioner,
If it's on
it's
the tentative.
on the tentative,
agenda.
anything on the tentative.
Say again.
Only anything on the tentative agenda.
It has to
John.
be on the.
Okay.
For the public, Mayor, since we're having a special
Bobby.
call, we can't discuss anything that's not publicly put out on the agenda prior to our meeting. So anyone that's watching, questions, other things that are coming through Facebook or anything that we can't address anything other than what's on the physical agenda. So if anyone has questions or concerns, they need to submit those to Blair Hecker at the city or one of the other city officers to get those to us offline.
Did anybody have any?
I'll have something for the next agenda.
Mayor, if I may, I'll move that we go into executive session then. I will read it. I move that we go into executive session for KRS 61.810 subsection 1 subsection B for the discussion of future acquisition of real property when publicity would likely affect the value of said property or the property.
Oh, second.
Second by Waldridge.
Are we in executive session now, guys?
Need a roll call by the mayor. Laura.
All
If
those
we
in
could,
favor?
all those in favor,
Aye.
please
He just
say
said
aye.
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 Aye.